Hi, my name is Tina Ziegler, and I'm in Cuadros' Corner.
Cuadros' Corner is a podcast whose purpose is to bring connection within the local community of the Rio Grande Valley, a digital networking landscape to meet people through their stories of passion, business, desires, triumphs, and obstacles. Check out the podcast description to connect with guests through their links, and thank you for listening to Cuadros' Corner. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and comment.
And in today's podcast, we talked about my life in Germany, my life in South Texas, impact health sharing, because I'm a crusader for a better way to be healthy. Stay tuned.
I would like to quickly interrupt to talk to you about our sponsor, Backdoor Modern Vintage. It's a creative hub which features different backgrounds for photography, video, or podcasting. Located at 907 West Business 83, Weslaco, Texas, you can also find a variety of props for your projects and an assortment of wardrobe to rent or buy as well. Backdoor Modern Vintage, located at 907 West Business 83, Weslaco, Texas. You can make an appointment by texting or calling 956-619-3830. Backdoor Modern Vintage.
Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule, because I know you travel everywhere, but you're from Germany. Can you tell us how
Correct.
You ended up here in the Valley?
Okay, it's a long story, but I tried to be short. Okay, I was born and raised in Germany. My dad was an entrepreneur. He was in the meat business, and then he moved into real estate later on. And he was fascinated by studying languages, and he always taught us, you need to learn as much as you can. Like that, nobody can take that away from you. That's the essence. And he was a great role model. Every time we were in the car, back in the day, there were tape recorders. So we were always listening to some like either Spanish or Arabic or some tape, some language tape. So he definitely inspired me. I'm the oldest, I have 3 siblings. He really inspired me. And we went to Spain. He because he was intrigued by the Spanish culture, so we went to Spain at least 3 times a year. I actually studied Spanish at the University of Malaga.
Oh, wow.
I was also intrigued by the Spanish culture.
Yeah.
And then he, in '79, he had a friend here in McAllen who, because he liked to fly airplanes.
Yeah.
It was another of his hobby. I mean, he was super busy. He was working all the time,
Yeah.
but he always had time for the family and always made time for his hobbies, the studying, the reading, the learning. It's just amazing. Like he had hundreds of books and magazines on physics and everything. So he was really interested in a lot of things, and I think I got my being interested in a lot of things from him. But then in '79, we actually spent New Year's here in McAllen at the Casa de Palmas, which was called it was called Casa de Palmas back in the day, and we spent New Year's there, and he met his business partner, and he actually bought a house. And the main reason, my dad. But the main reason was to actually fly airplanes to be as far away from communism, because he hated communism and he wanted to save his family, like in case there's another Cold War or something else, because he didn't trust Russia. And I guess I got that from him too. Like I hate communism. I'm all about freedom, and the U.S. was like the shining light. And he started his business here, but he kept going back and forth because my mom did not want to live here. My mom did not want to learn any languages. My mom is the kind of the opposite of my dad. Yeah. And he kept his little business, the business partner. There was a German community back in the day. They were buying and selling the orange groves, and they were connecting. Our neighbor was German, so my best friend is also the neighbor's daughter. So we really bonded. When I first came here, I was 14. And it was great. It was a great experience to also find somebody like-minded, like me, and also dealing with a German mom. There's a lot of issues with that, but we were a great fit, and so I loved this area, and I knew that's when the seed was planted, and even earlier on when my dad, because he was reading books Native American books to me when I was a child. I never read girls' books or anything like that. It's called Karl May, which like every German my age knows. Karl May Winnetou, the noble Native American, and Old Shatterhand, which was like the pioneer. So in their friendship. So it was about the culture, the Native American culture, and so I was like inspired by that, and I always wanted to be a Native American when I grow up, like be Native American. All that combined, like the experience here in Texas, then the background, the Native American background, that's what inspired me and intrigued me, and that's what kept me going back and forth.
Yes.
So all my life, pretty much, I've been going back and forth, like from age 14. I spoke English because I liked English. I had a great teacher too in school. In Germany, you use the first language is like at 5th grade, you start learning a foreign language. Unfortunately, it's English and not Russian. Like in East Germany, it was Russian. I loved it, and that's another piece of advice for everybody. If you want to learn a language, you have to be interested in the culture. You have to love the culture, embrace the culture, and that's what I did. And so I kept growing in that culture, and also in my desire to want to live here. Like when I finished high school in Germany, I knew, like we had like a high school book, and like, so when people talk about, so what are you going to do? Like, what's your next step? And I said, I want to live in the US. That was my next step. And no matter what it takes, I was like, I'm going to be an artist, maybe a writer, and I'm going to live in like by age 40, I'm definitely going to live here. So, and things came true. And it's also like when you have a vision, that's what you follow. And even you may not be aware of that, but just by manifesting it, by talking about it, by following it, it will come true. And so the next step was actually I was enrolling into American Studies program at the University of Frankfurt.
Of course.
Instead of like my mom and my parents would have preferred me to be a pharmacist. I mean, which is like the most alien thing to me, like pharmacy and pharmacists and drugs and all that. That's not me. So I snuck out, and I actually signed up for American Studies, Art and Film and Business as well. Wow. At the University of Frankfurt. And when they came back, they were like, because they were, I think, I don't even know where they were, but they found out that I'm going to study American Studies, Art and Film and Business. And they were like, what in the world are you going to do with that? And it's like, well, I know what I'll do. I don't know 100%, but I'll be either director and I'll do something, and I'll do business because I want to learn about business, and I'll be traveling the world. So my dad liked that. Of course, my mom didn't, but I didn't care. And the next step was actually to try to get a scholarship to get paid to live over here and to study over here. So I got the scholarship actually in my 3rd semester, which is also very rare because I was really committed. Like I want to get, and so I got a grant by the German Academic Exchange Service. And that brought me here, and I had 3 choices of university, and they would place me. So you had 3 choices, like NYU was one, Berkeley was the second one, and UT Austin was the third one. But because my study was popular culture, the focus of my study was business and popular culture, I was placed into like the University of Texas. And again, that was meant to be. It's like magic, because that was the best fit. So I lived in Austin for a year, studied in Austin. But again, like life happens, and something always took me back. So after the year, I could have, if I really had tried hard, I could have stayed in Austin, but I didn't try hard enough because I had some friends over there in Germany. It's like, oh, I have to see my friends, and I'll be with my friends. So I went back to Germany. And I was teaching English, I was teaching German, and I was also like a film critic. So that's what I did when I went back. But it's still after 3-4 months, I felt like homesick. I had to go back to, and that's when this whole thing started. And I go back and forth, like every 3-4 months, I was just like, I couldn't stand it to be over there anymore. I came over here. Unfortunately, I could, with my studies, I could do that because like it's a master's program, and I took my time in the master's program.
Yeah.
My thesis was on Bonnie and Clyde in the 30s versus the 60s, like the real Bonnie and Clyde that lived in the 30s, and because they were the first bandits that actually used media and the magazines to pose and to showcase themselves. So a lot of people don't know that. They don't even know who Bonnie and Clyde are, but that was actually in the 30s, the first time ever. And then in the movie, the Bonnie and Clyde movie, that's when this was showcased. So like that was a part of my thesis. Also the premises that culture is a projection of history. So it goes history like and culture go hand in hand, and that's how it's also a projection. So you can read it. You can read the movies are a projection of history and of social economic developments, and you can learn from just watching movies.
Yeah.
But back to like my going back and forth. I did a lot of research, and I had my friends in Austin, and I expanded. I went to California. I went on a 1-month trip to California, like backpacking. Nowadays, that's something you would not do like as a female. I was. How old was I? 22. Backpacking. I didn't have a plan. I was just like hopping on the Trailways buses or on the buses, the Amtrak. I stayed in Santa Monica. It was also before cell phones. It was the analog age. So I had this friend in Austin and said, I know somebody in Santa Monica. And so we made a phone call, which was super expensive. So you couldn't just call people. So that was like a special deal. We set up the time. We got the phone call going. And then they said they would put the key under the mat, like 3 weeks later. So I get there 3 weeks later, the key's under the mat.
Oh, wow.
So and I met the people for the first time. They were working. So in the evening, I met them. So that was a very different culture, and you could just like hitchhike. It was still, I mean, it was probably dangerous. It was possible, but shouldn't have done it. But I did, and so I met a lot of interesting people. I saw a lot. I went to Tijuana. I mean, back then you could just take the tram and just go across the border. Again, the same thing. Somebody had recommended, meet at this bodega, and then tell them that you're gonna meet this person, and actually I told them the name of the person, and then somebody called them, or a kid walked around the block and got him. So he met me at that bodega, and I was staying with the guy. I didn't know the guy, so he was an immigration lawyer. So like it was like things like that. So a lot of interesting things. I mean, also dangerous things. And I guess I was lucky. I had my guardian angels helping me, because I got out of some really hairy situations. So that's also part of the thing. But I was fearless, and that's one thing that I don't know. It can be good, it can be bad. But I really, if somebody told me don't do it, why not? So I always had that, like, why not? And also, later on, I traveled central, every year I visited my friend in New York. So I was all eras in New York, like Tompkins Square in the days when this was really dangerous. There were dead people in the street. Shouldn't really go there. Also Central Park, don't go there by yourself. You get mugged. And I did all these things, and I was lucky that nothing happened. And I was always like, see, nothing happened to me. So what are they talking about? But it was also kind of pride, and it was kind of stupidity to do that. But nevertheless, I just, I wanted to blend in. I wanted to have the experience, and I didn't want to have secondhand experience. I want to have meet the people, talk to the people. I had a friend who was squatting in the area of Tompkins Square. So I was staying with him. So we had to go through a church to get to the apartment. So that was, but okay, now we're in the U.S. and that's actually my treasure. So, and I'm so glad that I had this and I had all the experience, and that I could always come back here. That's to me, that was priceless. And continuing on, I finished my master's. I went to Spain for a while, and then I wasn't really looking for a job. I just was looking for an opportunity to get back to the U.S. to find a project. I had a friend. We wanted to finance a cultural exchange program for business people. So what's the etiquette? How is American culture? How do you do business with American, with an American person and a German person? Because Germans are very different from also German way of doing business. business, very different from American.
What would be
way of doing
the biggest difference?
The biggest difference is that Germans are very stiff. So you really have to warm them up in order. They're very formal.
Yeah.
I mean, they used to be. Now everything is, because with global culture, all these things have changed. But that was back in the late 80s, early 90s, in the 90s. So things were still kind of old-fashioned, old style, and very formal.
Yeah.
You know, like guys were wearing ties and suits. I mean, women, I remember, because that's the next step when I didn't sign up for my television career. I never applied anywhere. And I also had no intention to work in television, because my intention was to move here, to start this cultural exchange business, and grow.
Yeah.
But then we had no finance. The financing fell through, and I could have always, because my dad was supporting me, I could have always asked my dad, but I never did. I was like,
Yeah.
I was working at age 14, like as a tutor. I was working all kinds of odds jobs in hamburger farm in Germany I was selling hamburgers just to have my own money. So I was always into I want my own money. I don't want anybody to support me, especially not my family. I want to have my own money. So I said, no, I'm not going to rely on my family to have financing. I have to find the financing myself. So that's how I was actually open when I got the offer to work for Sat.1, which is German. That's the largest German private network in Germany. Sat.1, there's Sat.1 RTL, and there's the 2 public stations. And that was 92. I was actually.
This is cable television?
It's national television. Actually, it's not national. It's satellite. They had satellites, and it wasn't a novelty. It was new in Germany, because until '84, I believe, it was all regulated. There were only 2 stations, ARD and ZDF, and then in '88. Finally, deregulation started happening, and then in the early 90s, that's when the golden years of RTL and Sat.1, the private stations.
And that was when you were there.
That's when I was there. Yeah, and they were looking for somebody in Berlin, because I was in Frankfurt.
Yeah.
Just trying to get my financing ready to go to New York or go somewhere else, but I wasn't there yet. And this friend of mine, she asked me to write a press kit, and I was like, okay, I'll write the press kit, and I did. But then the lady.
What is a press kit?
A
for
press
those that
kit
might
is
not
when you they had like a Sat.1. They have like these TV serials like Tarzan. It was like 5 Tarzan movies or serials. That's what they were showcasing. And so a press kit is you write about the content. You give it some background information so they can use this. The Sat.1 people can use it for PR and marketing. So they don't do the research. They have somebody else do the research for them. I don't know if it's still done that way, but back in the day, there was no internet. So you had to rely on a person to actually gather the information and write it up. So you can use the information. Nowadays, you just Google. That's why I don't think it's necessary. But there was no Google in the 90s.
Yeah.
So I was kind of the Google girl. And I gave the press kit to I was supposed to meet the TV representative of the department, the press department, but she forgot or she wasn't there. And it happened twice. And then the head of the whole PR company department, he was in charge of press as well. He actually offered me, he just talked to me for 10 minutes, and he said I'd like for you to move to Berlin and get this job at a TV manager, PR and marketing manager for the international programs. So Berlin is also where the Berlin Film Fest happens.
Yeah.
And we had TV movies, and we had also the real movies. And to promote a movie, you had to do interviews, you had to go to the set, talk to the talent, and that's the kind of job that he was proposing. And I had no idea do I really want this? Do I really want to get into television? But then I thought, okay, Berlin, the wall just came down. It's probably interesting. Berlin is probably the most international city in Germany, West Berlin was. East Berlin, not so much, but there's a lot of things to explore. So, and then the money was really good. I could just ask, and I had no idea how much to ask. I've never really thought of that. So how much do I ask? Like, and she's like, you just ask me how much do you want? I said, I don't even know how much I want. So I just came up with a number that somebody at a party had mentioned. You should make at least this and that. And I had overheard that conversation. So that sounds good. Like, okay, let's just see what he says. Like, it's I think it was like 60,000 D-marks or 70,000 D-marks a year, which I thought was a lot. Now, and that later on I learned it was not a lot, because the guys in that department, they made much more. Again, like there was also the time when women didn't really, there was no equality. The women were, that's the secretary, and okay, the women don't make as much. The guys are more important, they make more. But again, anyway, so it came to be, and I moved to Berlin, and they said, well, it's probably going to take a year till you move to Berlin. And then the first day I start, and it said, okay, you're going to move to Berlin in 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
But then all bills paid. I mean, that was also
sweet.
Something you would not find these days. You know, they for half a year I had flights back and forth from Berlin to Frankfurt. So, and I got to stay in a hotel. So they paid for the first 4 months I was staying in a hotel. So those are the golden years. Of course, nowadays you would never have anything like that. So the wall was just like, I was just like close to Brandenburg Gate, just the wall area. I mean, it was very exciting, and there was so much going on, so much like also chaos. There was a lot of chaos. There was also a lot of weirdness with the East Germans and the West Germans, and the wall in people's heads, and the antagonism, and a lot of other things. But it was very exciting, and also culturally, the arts, there was tons of stuff going on, really crazy. And a lot of things were not regulated, so that's why this craziness could actually happen. So it was really exciting, and I was kind of getting sucked in by this. It was like I forgot that I actually just wanted to be there for a year, because it was really like, it was challenging, it was exciting, there was so much going on. I basically lived in my office, and then just went to the parties, so there was a lot of that going on. And since I was in charge of the international programs, like David Hasselhoff, Star Trek, and Baywatch, Star Trek. So we had to fly to LA to do the interviews, because there was no internet. So you had to talk to the talent directly.
And how was that for you? Like, were you super excited about like going and being able to like meet all these superstars?
I was. After I met the superstars, I lost my excitement for superstars.
Why is that?
I was never really like the kind of fan person. I was never into that, you know, because I always see the backside of that. So I also like being in the business. After a while, you see behind the scenes. I mean, you understand what's going on behind the scenes, and it's pretty ugly, honestly. And sometimes I really wonder, like, how did I actually survive 25 years of this? Because, I mean, there were a lot of great things, but also dealing with the talent was not always great. The way there were also the Me Too generation. I mean, that was the Me Too times, the way women were treated and disrespected, and the way talent was just assuming things like, okay, well, she's in charge, she should get me the drugs, she should do this, and she's like, that's not my work profile. I'm not, and that's not me. And then they were like making things like complicated, and so you always had to try to please everybody, basically, but without going like in the wrong direction. So it was always a balance. And so early on, just meeting the talent of like even Star Trek and Baywatch, Pamela Anderson, 5 days with Pamela Anderson in Berlin when she was still like in her prime, I would say, with Tommy Lee and all that stuff going on. That was quite interesting. And her entourage that she brought along. So there were lots of stories. And my friends always told me, you should write books. And I don't have time to write books. But it was interesting. So maybe one day I will. So, but I need somebody to write it down, because I don't have the time to write it. And I still remember lots of interesting stories, lots of tough things too, and lots of crazy things. Also like one press trip we did to go to New Delhi.
Yeah.
So we were flying 6 journalists into New Delhi, and it ended up being I had to organize everything. There was nobody else organizing this whole trip.
Right.
Nothing worked. Like we were supposed to be picked up by a bus at the airport in New Delhi. There was no bus.
Yeah.
So that's how the whole trip started. And they were, of course, the journalists were relying on me, and I had to deal with the production, but the production also didn't have the means, and it was too far because it was close to the Taj Mahal. That's where the movie set was, because it was a fairy tale.
Oh, wow.
But just to get to the Taj Mahal from New Delhi, it's a 7-hour drive.
Yeah.
And so I had to get the bus. Fortunately, I was smart enough to have money, because you always have to deal with people and hand out money. So that's the only way to get things done. So fortunately, it was accommodated. So I could do that. So we got the bus. We went to the set. But then the set was closed because the day before, it turns out the producer had not paid the Delhi government. So they had just closed down the set. So the German actors, there was an international group of actors. There were German actors. There were Israeli actors. There were like people from different countries. There were elephants. There were animals. There was like all kinds of things. Everything was shut down, and it was a beautiful temple. It was a beautiful church. Yeah, it was a temple. Everything was super beautiful, but there was no activity. So that everybody was stressed out also because of that, because they only had certain days they had to finish shooting. So the producer had to fly to New Delhi and hopefully to settle things. And we only had 3 days. And of course the actor and the photographers and the journalists expected to have these fantastic pictures of the actors in the Taj Mahal, in the setting. The actors refused to do any pictures. So it was just like you always. Why
is that?
Well, because they didn't want to have pictures taken, because it's in their private. They were not shooting, so they were in their private clothing, and they refused because that's another thing when you have to deal with actors, they have to be ready. But if they're not ready, and even if the producer tells them, okay, we're just going to do the interview. I mean, nowadays things are very different, but that's the old days, because actors had this attitude like, okay, well, I don't really need the stupid photographer. I don't really need the stupid journalist. I'm the actor, like I'm the star, and they need to do whatever I want. So they were kind of arrogant a lot of times, or they were just like, just didn't feel like it, or whatever it was. So in this situation, it was critical, because of course everybody was getting impatient. So you always had to deal with this pressure, because everybody has their agenda, everybody wants to get something, and typically the actors were stopping that. So, or the director was stopping that. Nowadays, again, it's very different, because everybody knows how important press is. But back in the day, it was like press was like a pest. Nobody wanted to deal with press. And there's this press lady, and then the photographers, and the journalists, and they're asking stupid questions. So it was a nuisance to most of the actors. So that was in the 90s. Again, things have changed very much. But that was one of the struggles.
Now it's normal.
Yeah, that was one of the struggles, and that's why I can honestly say, without mentioning any names, I mean, you lose respect for actors and for, also in that industry. But nevertheless, I was always hoping maybe I can turn things around, maybe I can change things, and just by keeping the balance and just making things work. And typically I made things work, but it was a lot of energy on my part. And then at the end of the day, you ask yourself, so why did I do this for? Like, what is the purpose here? Like, what did we get? We get like a press clipping. Okay, so somebody wrote about this. So is that something that's a big achievement?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, as like the longer you're in the business, the less you think it's an achievement, and the more you also question, like, what am I actually doing? Because you work 24/7. You're always dealing with this production, that production. Are you writing? You're preparing something. So I never had that mentality that some people actually had. Oh, it's just a job. So I'm just going to work while I'm in the office. And for me, it was like, that's not a job. It's my life. And I can't do, that's one thing I could never do. I could never have that job mentality that people have. I still don't even understand. So you just do something for 3 hours or for 10 hours or 5 hours, and then you just cut off, and it's like, the job is over, now I do something else. I just couldn't do that. So
You needed it to be like the same thing throughout the whole day.
right, and I just want also like when you're like out of the office. I mean, I still had to like think about it and work on it and maybe write something, and so I would be ready for the next day. So and also make a list of which journalists to talk to. So there was always preparation involved. And then like moving forward, the 2000s, like millennium, that's actually when, like there were all these doom and gloom people that said like, okay, the world will end, millennium, there is no 201, there's no 201. So like, that's all crap.
2001?
Yeah, 2001. Right. So but again, that was also, it was a turning point because it's also when I realized actually maybe I want to have kids. So that's another thing. So like I somehow that seed was planted before I said, no, I'll never have kids. I don't need a family. I'm just working. I mean, I don't have time for anything else. But then it's like, okay, maybe there's more in life because you work, you buy stuff, and you work. And then you're always like busy, always fixing problems, other people's problems and fixing stuff. And you're in a toxic environment, but you keep doing what you're doing. So there's got to be something else. And then that's when that seed was planted. And then I got pregnant. It's, again, like something once you think about it, you're manifested, things happen. And I was in denial, but it happened. And then when I realized, okay, it is true, I am pregnant, I was like, okay, I'm going to have a baby sabbatical in McAllen. I'm not going to have my baby over there where it's doom and gloom and cold, because it's also like during the winter, like 6 months out of the year, it's very cold and it's dark. The days are very short, especially in the winter. So you pretty much live in the darkness or like artificial light. You can't go outside. It's raining. It's cold.
In Berlin, right?
Yeah, Berlin. And there's lots of wind, there's ice, there's snow. And my son was born in March, so I would have been like the whole winter, I would have been over there. It's like, no way.
Yeah.
So because, I've been going back and forth, even because in Germany, that's another thing about my job. You get 8 weeks, or you got 8 weeks of paid vacation plus the holidays, and there are tons of holidays. I think there's 24 holidays that people take time off.
Yeah.
And so I used every second when I had a vacation to be here in Texas.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, well, I'll have my baby sabbatical here.
Yeah.
And and I did. And it was a great time. And and I was like, it's like, oh, what about the doctor? How did like this? And I was like, well, I'll figure it out. And I did. I had a great doctor. Like, he's probably not around anymore, Dr. Almaguer. And and I was in the hospital for 1 day, and then I was out the next day, and that was my first son. And then, and
What's
then
his name?
with Travis.
Travis.
So, Travis was born in 2001. It was April 4th, 2001. And then, of course, with that, everything changed.
Yeah.
Now I still had my job, because in Germany also you have this, I think even back 3 years, you can take a baby sabbatical for 3 years.
Yeah.
And then you can still come back. It's like, why would I do that? I mean, in 3 years, everything will have changed. And I was determined, okay, I'll be back maybe within 3 months.
Yeah.
I'm not going to take 3 years. So I was here for 3 months. So Travis was like, he was 3 months old when I flew back to Berlin, and then I had like 1 month, and then I went back to work.
Did he stay here with your dad?
No, his dad is in Germany. So
No, I mean with your dad.
Well, when I had Travis, my dad was here, right? They were here for a little bit, but they usually didn't stay very long, so they stayed for like a month or so. So it was actually, my dad was very happy. It was first grandchild, and he really enjoyed that. And but I had to go back and then put him in daycare. And I vividly remember. That people had because you have a child, like over there, the attitude of people is like, why you have a child, why would you go back to work? I mean, and I felt like I had to go back to work because I have to like keep all these things going. And so I put him in daycare, and because we lived in East Germany, in the eastern part of Berlin, so it's like still like East Germany. So they had lots of daycare, all day daycare, because in the socialist system, the main thing is to get the children into the daycare as soon as they're born, so the system can manipulate them. So the kids didn't spend much time with their parents. The main thing was they had to be they were in the daycare, so the parents could work. And they were indoctrinated. So that's in my view, that's a socialist system, and that's how they get the perfect socialists that tattletale on their parents later on. It's also the communist system. So there's no bonding, no family bonding. It's system bonding. So that's why there were all these daycares still in the eastern part, which was a good thing. But the bad thing was that I had to leave my son with this kind of environment. I guess we were lucky because we had a Montessori daycare, so that at least at some point they said, yeah, we had to replace our socialist philosophy with something, so we chose Montessori.
Yeah.
So, but at least they did the workshops, and they adapted to the Montessori, and they used the Montessori materials, and that's also when my son grew older, and I kept going back, because again, now I kept going back and forth with my son. He went to the Montessori school when he was over here. So he kind of grew up in the Montessori system, back and forth. And then when I had my second son, my second baby sabbatical 3 years later, we continued doing the same thing.
Wow.
So I was...
What's his name?
That was in 2004. So I still had the full-time job. I was going back and forth, and my dad was also getting sick because he had diabetes, and he wasn't as strong as he used to, so he needed also some help. So whenever I was here, I was helping him with things over here. Then I went back and working, and I was like always working and always doing something. And then the kids got sick, and figuring out the problem. Okay, I have to go to the set, like Budapest. That's another example of like how crazy it was. Like, okay, I had to go to the set in Budapest, and my son is sick. And I don't know what he has, and there's nobody. I don't have anybody really there. My then husband was, I don't know what to do. Like, okay, and so I always had to figure it out. So then in that case, fortunately, he got better, and it would just gave him some medication, and then I had to leave. So, which is also hard for a mom, because then I got all the backslash of people like, you're such a bad mom. And that's what also from the rest of the family and the in-laws, you're a bad mom because you're leaving your child behind, and you should take your child with you. And it's like, I can't take my son to a movie set. It's impossible. I can't put him on a flight. And especially also when he's sick, it doesn't work. So I always had to improvise and find a way to make things work and deal with this antagonism and this attitude that, okay, you're neglecting your children, you just care about work, and which I didn't. I wanted to also, and I was crazy because I wanted to prove you can do both. You can be a good mother, and you can also be good in your job, and you can do other things, and it can all be integrated. I mean, I learned it's very hard, and eventually I just realized, okay, I have to, I don't know what to do, but I have to change some things. And then things happened. Sat.1 moved to Munich, so something changed. So they moved away from Berlin, and I was in Berlin, and I was considering moving to Munich, but Munich is so much more expensive. They don't have good daycare, so it's very different culture. It's like the southern German culture. Yeah. And I decided for my family that I can't do this, and so I stayed. I stayed in Berlin, but I already got my next job, even without applying. So I worked for a production company. They offered me a job. So I kept working. Mm-hmm. And then the next thing that happened, like after they were incorporated into a bigger company. So they also moved away and to a place, Babelsberg. So I would have had to commute like 3 hours a day, and said, no, I'm not going to do that. And then the next job was around the corner, Comedy Central. So that was in 2011. Yeah. So with Comedy Central, Viacom, Germany that was a very different kind of like very open, very cool. Viva, which is kind of like MTV. That like all those labels were like in the Viacom brand. And I could ride my bike to work, which was great. So I didn't have to commute, because that was another thing about getting to work. The traffic in Berlin is crazy. It's just like getting from one side of the city to the other side, from east to west, can take up to like an hour and a half. With rush hour, typically 20 minutes, but in the morning and the evening, it's crazy. So because also I was getting really tired of the daily commute, because before, when I worked for that production company, I had to commute like about an hour and a half in the morning and in the evening. So sometimes I just stayed longer to just not have to deal with that commute. And then I had to get dinner. Bring the dinners, like the dinner for my sons, when they were already at home. So yeah, keep doing everything. And then that Viacom job was actually cool, because I could ride my bike to work. So it was very close, and it was in a cool location. And so everything seemed to be like, it's like magic. Like how I thought, oh, this is
the
wonderful.
planets are aligning.
Yeah, everything is aligning, and I can still go to the U.S. because I still have my vacation. But then it turned out it was very demanding in a different way, because the Dutch were in charge, and they had very different ideas of what promotion means, how to work with the press. The German press is very specific, and it doesn't compare to the Dutch press. I mean, especially in television. So they didn't want to listen to, okay, this is not going to work here. There's like, just make it work. So, and that was the thing about that job, because they had expectations that were totally unrealistic, and they tried to establish something in the market that just wouldn't work, because the market wasn't ready for it. And I was in charge of all the German-speaking countries, like, there's Germany, there's Austria, there's Switzerland. Even those 3 German-speaking countries have very different press. They have very different culture, very different way of doing press, of doing the PR and of promoting. So, and they just ignored that. It's like, oh, it's all the same. They all speak German. They're all the same. They're not. And that's the thing. So, and they realized that later on. And so it was always kind of like a pull and push, and like, what can we do? And now we do the best we can. And also the formats. Like, there was this one format, Fat for Fun. The Germans didn't think it was funny, because of like 400, 500-pound people talking about sex and slurs and like things that weren't really funny. It was more like sad, actually. So, and also to promote this format was really hard, because you had to get, one of the guys needed a wheelchair to get in. So people were like, it's more like compassion, like it wasn't funny. Bottom line. And then they had some cop shows that was like shooting people. It's also not funny. Like, Germans didn't think it was funny. I mean, even though with the Dutch humor, they tried to, and they had like the sex and the violence and all that. There was a certain demographic that liked this kind of program, but a very tiny demographic. So it wasn't enough to get the marketing companies to invest and to actually to get Comedy Central on the map. So, and that's why also like all these things, it was very complicated to get things going and get things moving, and also have people to actually listen and work together, because everybody was kind of working. The Dutch were working against the Germans were working against the Dutch, so it was not really working together.
They're clashing heads.
The cultural clash again, and then with all of this happening, my dad got more and more sick. And then in 2013, he was hospitalized, and he never left the hospital. So it just like, he wanted to go home, he wanted to leave, but he just didn't have the strength. And so he passed away in January 2014. And that's also when I knew, okay, I'm in the wrong place. I need to continue what he started in the US. I need to get my energy into what he started, and I need to leave the industry. And it was like an epiphany. I remember, like, I was going back to Berlin because I was going back and forth between Frankfurt and Berlin by train. They had, like, in the meantime, they had the ice trains, or they have the ice trains now. It's 4 hours, and it used to be in the 90s. It was 10 hours by train. So it's actually easier to take the train. And so I was on that train, and I was looking outside, and then all of a sudden I knew. Okay, it was like the epiphany. Okay, you have to take your sons and you have to move to McAllen. You have to move to Texas and take care of what Dad has started.
And what did he start?
And well, he's the business, the house, and all those things that he left behind. And my mom wanted to sell everything. Yeah. That's the thing. She didn't care at all about this. She was like she just didn't care. She never really had like a passion for what my dad like to build. So and then she was in charge, and it's like, okay, I'm gonna take it, like I'm gonna help her to manage this and to do this and take it to the next level. Later on, it turned out, okay, it's not what she wanted, but okay, that's a different story. Anyway, so I asked my sons, because we usually spend, like I mentioned before, the Montessori school, like every vacation time I had, we spent over here, and they went to the Montessori school, and they had friends, and we had those two lives, like the best of both worlds. I was like, I want my sons to have the best of both worlds. So, and now I asked them, okay, what if we turn things around? So we live over here and we go to Germany twice a year instead of living over there and coming here twice a year. And both of them said yes immediately. They said, why do you, no question asked. So we love to go not to the Montessori school, but go into the public schools. So okay, let's do it. And so we did. And
where did they go to school?
It was actually the best decision for both of them, and they went to the IB program. Both of them went to IB in McAllen, and fortunately, it's another thing where the stars aligned. McAllen has the IB program, which is the International Baccalaureate. There's only 4,000 schools worldwide, and they have higher standards. And with the IB, it's like an international standard. So if you have an IB degree, like if your diploma is actually also accepted in Germany and like all countries of the world. So you don't have to like take extra tests because the level is a higher level of learning. Yeah. And then the school district here at that time also had, like, even middle school had an IB program. And so my son Travis, my oldest, just happened to get into that IB program because the teachers, he didn't even try. The teacher said he must go into that program. And so another thing, the teachers here were on his side. They saw his talent. The teachers over there, they just couldn't deal with that. They just they promoted average. They stopped my son. They just said, he's like, yeah, no, he can't do this. He can't do computer work. They didn't even have a computer. That was in 2013. They didn't have a computer at the school there. And he was really interested in computer. He taught himself, like everything he knows, he taught himself. It's all self-taught. It's kind of like my dad. Yeah. But here the teachers realized, they saw his talent. And at IB, he took higher math, and that was to me, it was like a miracle. Like, how can you take 2 math classes and higher math? And there were only 3 students left 3 students that signed up for higher math, and then they actually closed down the program after Travis left, because at the end of the school year, of that year, he was the only student that was left. So he and the teacher, they did higher math together, and the teacher told me, I can't believe that your son is teaching me new ways of looking at how to solve these problems, these math problems. Wow. So, he was like a rock star at IB, because everybody wow, look, Travis, what he did. And then he and his girlfriend, both of them, because he was always studying, and he didn't care about parties or any of that. So he was he was really interested in learning. And they both got into MIT, which very rare that, or I don't know. That's awesome. It doesn't happen that two students from the same school get accepted. So they got accepted, and he finished his master's in only 4 years, and he got an internship with IBM. So he even paid for his own school. The last year he paid for his own school. And MIT is pretty expensive because it's a private school.
Yeah.
And he did that, and now he has his own startup, and he's still in Boston. And he's also very driven to be independent, because he said, because everybody's like, when he finished, like, you have such good grades, why don't you work for Google? Why don't you work for IBM? You got all the references and you make so much money with IBM or with Google. And he said, I'd rather live in the street than work for these companies. So I want to do my own thing. So that's what he's doing. So and my other son, Adrian, he is at UT Austin. He got accepted into UT, and I'm glad that he did. Like his mom, stepping in mom's footsteps. I mean, he could have gone anywhere, but UT, the engineering program, he's in civil engineering, was what he was accepted into. Like, well, then go for it. Don't go somewhere else. And so he made that decision. So now he's in the second year. They just started the semester. So I'm proud of both of my guys, and I just hope I can inspire. That's what I want to do, and inspire. That's also what.
Yes, and please, and I love everything that you've been talking about. You've been in a lot of experiences, and in the same way you've brought a lot of different experiences here to the couch. Right. You've brought a couple different objects. Do you mind sharing what each of them mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, this is my mission, and I brought that also because it's Project Feeding Kids. So with what I do, I want to help the community to get better, and also I want to show people that there is a way to be independent, and it's very simple. You just have to follow a simple system, and you don't have to be stuck at a job that you don't like just because of your healthcare. I see so many people, they suffer and they just like want to get the benefits, and that's why they hate and live through this job. But there's a better way, and that's also why I'm super passionate, and that's my mission to share health. Share. It's not health insurance, it's health share. It's a different concept. It's like Uber. Uber ground floor, when Uber wasn't really popular, when people didn't know about Uber. And it's something that can only be shared by words, by sharing, by like Zooms. Because we don't do marketing, which I like, because I'm not into marketing. I'm into sharing and just like explaining, or basically helping people to see. And then if they see, great. If they don't see, great. I can't convince somebody to do something, but I can give the information and the facts if they're interested. And so that's what I do. So health share is my passion. We're crusaders. I'm a part of like this group of crusaders that are sharing a different way of being taken care of, not the insurance company with big pharma, stock market interests and other things, but to be healthy. That's the most important thing, because without health, without energy, you can't do anything. Yeah. And to keep healthy and keep that status, and also have the right doctors. Choose your doctor. We have free choice of doctors anywhere in the U.S. If I need a specialist and he happens to be in Houston, I go to Houston, or Ohio, I go to Ohio, and the health share is covering that, so they're not stopping it. And also, if the doctor says this is a treatment, then I will get that treatment.
Do they cover travel as well?
Well, that's on my end, because like it depends on my lifestyle, and my lifestyle is I live in a lot of places, so that's also cool, because I can go to any doctor that is the best in their area where I am. So there's no restrictions, and there's also free telemedicine, which is great, because I hate, honestly, if I don't have to go to the doctor, I'd rather not, because I use natural remedies, and I don't like to go to doctors unless it's really necessary. Right. And then I want to have a like-minded doctor, not a McDonald's doctor who just follows like what the insurance company tells them. Yeah. So it's holistic, and that's another thing. So it's about getting better and getting like true to the human values, and also true to our like what God wanted us to be. And he wants us to be healthy, and he wants us to live according to what's the best for us. And we know we are. If you look inside, you will know what's right for you. But you have to listen to your voice and not be cluttered, and be focused on listening to your own voice and where you want to go, and you will know. So.
I love that.
That's one of the things. So that's my passion, to share that and to help more people and to get children fed with Project Feeding Kids, which is laced with the food bank. Because we have also this program with every service somebody pays their bill for. The company puts money into Project Feeding Kids and the food bank. So that's the business side. I'm also in real estate, so I rent apartments. I try to create spaces for people that they feel comfortable in. So that's my goal. That's where I'm still it's a daily struggle, and there's a lot of factors that try to prevent the enemies. There's always enemies for everything, because I just see the serpent. There's lots of serpents, but you just make it. You have that vision, and I have that vision to help people and to help get the perfect space. And that's why I'm so passionate about art and integrating art and artists, connecting with artists and just beauty and the light. That's very important to me. Not into the dark side, but into the light. That's the most important thing. And when I was driving here, I was driving into the rainbow. That was quite an experience. I never wow, not into the sunset, but I'm driving into the rainbow. So it means something.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
So that was really cool. I took a picture, but the pictures don't do. They don't do. It doesn't come out like that. It's you have to have the experience. Again, I love to take pictures, but typically the experience is much better than any picture could be. And that's why I also, a lot of pictures are manipulated, you can Photoshop stuff, but it's not the real thing, and you can tell it's not the real thing. So the experience is the real thing. And talking about real thing, that's one of my hobbies. If I had more time, I would probably do more of this. This is a dress.
Oh, wow.
That I was knitting, because I like knitting and crocheting.
How long did that take you to do?
Fiber arts. This took about a month.
Oh, wow.
But that was when I had more time, right? I had a little more time. Nowadays, it takes much longer to finish.
Like a year.
to finish things. And also this is something super simple that I just do it at night. I mean, this took maybe a week. So it's something just put on.
You're very fast.
Yeah. So, but again, it has to be the right time. It's I have to feel okay, now this is what I'm going to do.
You're going to feel inspired.
And then I can finish it in a week. And I made a hat, and it took me 3 hours to make the hat. So it's just it has to be the right time.
Tell me about your outfit.
This outfit is actually an outfit I found here. so Yvette, thanks to Yvette, right? Thanks to Yvette. That's another thing. I look at things, I look at clothes, I look at outfits, and I know, okay, this, and that. And typically, they actually fit. So I know this is me, and then I just got it.
Yeah, I love it. And then the boots that you have?
Yeah, and I love boots. I love shoes, and I love unique shoes. That's why I also brought, this is a kind of unique shoe. I mean, this is definitely not for walking. That's why I love boots, because you're always prepared. No matter if I'm in a field with thistles, or if I'm in a ditch, or wherever I am, I have my boots on, or end up at Home Depot yesterday when my water heater exploded.
Yeah.
So it's good to have boots. So I have to carry stuff, and I'm ready. So
sorry about your water heater.
Yeah. Talking about also a different kind of shoe. I love platform shoes like this.
Nice.
So these are, and then I have another,
very 70s vibe.
I have another pair. These are pretty cool too. I love the cowboy, the Western style, and prints. So yeah, and this is gonna be my next project. So that's the yarn for my next project. So that's why I brought this. And this is another thing. This is felting. So I just making these felt thingies, these spikes, and then just connect them and then twist them. That's that's my favorite hairstyle, because it takes 2 minutes or less Just like put the hair up and then put the thing in.
It looks very unique.
Yeah, and and I know how to make them because I found the first time I saw these was probably like 20 years ago in Germany in a market, and that's when I got my first one, and then I learned how to make them. And nowadays you can't find them anymore, so that's why I'm glad that I have them. So a lot of things are really unique, and a lot like in vintage. I love vintage because you find a lot of unique things, and it's like fortunately I have a lot of space to keep and collect, like rings or and jewelry in general. To have the luxury, and I feel like I'm very blessed to have the luxury of having that. I mean, it is a blessing and it is a luxury. I know and I'm thankful every day for what I have. So that's also important that we are thankful for what we have.
Yes, of course.
It may be small, but it can grow because also that's again, you manifest it. You may not be, and we're never there where like we get somewhere like we're like, oh, this is the best thing in the world. Like if I only got there, then everything would be no, it's not. It's a trip. You have like milestones that you want to reach or that you will reach, but then there's a next one. There's always a next one, and that's what I like. So it's never it never like, okay, I'm just gonna do this and that and then it's over and then I'm gonna retire. No way. I will never retire.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as I have the energy to do all the things that I do and help people and make a difference and be that light, I will. And
Thank you.
That's why I cannot like also like sometimes people are like, oh, I just want to retire. And it's like I feel a little sad for them. It's like because it's so they're reducing themselves. They're just like enclosing themselves. Don't you want to? I mean, retirement is probably great, but don't you want to learn anything, or don't you want to like experience more? Just retire, just hang out and do nothing. But again, that's everybody has to make that decision for themselves, and that's I can only inspire, but I'm not gonna change. You can't change things, and that's also another thing I learned. So I can only inspire, and I also have my focus where I want to go, and then
There's you've been here for how many years in total in the valley?
The first time I came here was 79.
Oh wow! But you've lived how long? Like
here in the valley,
like,
usually like twice a year. I was here twice a year, so I've seen the change. I mean, also when you come and go, you see the change, and it's changed tremendously. But change is good too. I mean, because of course there's always ups and downs, but I feel like progress, prosperity, change, just moving forward. That's what God wants us to do. The past is our schooling. Like whatever, like also if bad stuff happens, that's the past. Don't go back to that. Because a lot of people I see, they go back and they inspect and they look at it, oh, why does this happen? Why did that happen? But it's a waste of time to do that. I mean, you learn your lesson, like, okay, I did this wrong, I messed up, but I try again. And I try again. And I try again. And maybe I have to try it many, many times, but I'm not going to give up. I'll get this going. And there's another, and that's one of the things that also inspires me. Like if you have a goal, it may take a year, may take 5 years. It's like the bamboo tree. So you have the bamboo tree in the ground and you don't see anything, but you keep watering it. You have to water. Don't forget to water it. Just regularly water. Be consistent watering it. And year 3, there may be something, but you still don't know. But you water on faith, because also that's like there's this. Like the Bible says like you walk on faith. So you don't have guarantee. You believe, but you walk on faith, and you just follow the light that's in front of you. You don't know where it's going to end, but you walk on faith, and that's what we need to do, because we don't know. There's no guarantee for nothing, but we walk on faith, and then watering that tree. All of a sudden, it starts shooting out. So, like at some point, it will explode, and that's a reality. Also, with so many other things, you just like you walk on faith, and you just keep going and keep nurturing and keep doing what you're doing. Put the energy in, and then things will happen. Yeah. And the same with prosperity, wisdom. You just have to keep doing it, and don't stop. Yeah, that's what, and feel inspired by that, by just moving and also correcting. Not every day is a great day, but it's your perception of what's great and what's not. Like if anything, just like look at the little things. It's great, and it's great to be alive.
For sure. And now that you've been here in the Valley, how do you feel about like the culture? Like, what has been your experience with the local culture? Do you feel like embraced by it? Have they? What's your experience?
Well, the culture also has changed. That's another thing. I mean, there's a lot of, and I have this, and as a child, I already had this vision or this image of a house. So I have this house. I am the house, and people look inside. People may come inside. They may stay inside. They may move to the first floor. They may move into my house. They'd stay with me. I have different rooms. There's like color rooms. There's cluttered rooms. There's like all kinds of different rooms. So there's different people for different rooms and for different things. But it's my house. I'm that house. So I am a house, kind of like that's the image. And the same here. I mean, there's so many people that I can resonate with, even though we're from completely different backgrounds, completely different culture. Yeah. But like the example with my best friend, we came from very different culture, very different background. The only common thing we had, like the German moms. And there's always something that you have in common with the people that you meet. And it doesn't even matter where that is, it's unexpected. That's my experience also. It's unexpected. So they come, look in the house, they come in the house, and all of a sudden he's like, wow, this is like, where have you been all my life? We're best friends. But then they may move, they may leave. So, okay, then you find somebody else and that's also my experience here in this area. Like I've met the most amazing people, and some of them have left, some of them are still there. They come to my house, to me, and we're still connected. And that's so powerful. Like I've met some great artists here, and I'm supporting the art community as much as I can because I love them. So it's just great to have this culture, and I would have never experienced that had I stayed in Berlin. Because in Berlin, it's very cliquish. People are very into, no, you can't be in my club because, you're not part of us because you're this and that and the other. No, you can't be in different groups and circles. You have to be in our circle. If you're not in our circle, you can't come in. So it's very exclusive, especially the art scene and many other scenes too. So if you're not with this group, forget it, and here it's so open. That's what intrigued me. Like you just meet people and they're like in the group and you connecting. It's like weaving in a way. So you're weaving like kind of or like knitting like that.
Yeah,
it's
knitting.
you're connecting, and I just enjoy that.
There's a saying that is popular down here that is "Puro 956." What does that mean to you? What feelings?
956.
Puro 956.
I actually have a sweatshirt that says 956, and I have a sweatshirt that says Southern Border. And I was wearing that in Germany. It's like, what is Southern Border? Like, why are you wearing a shirt like that? It's like, because I'm proud, Southern Border. Because also in Germany, like the media just usually likes to report on the bad stuff, and that's also why a lot of my friends, they can't understand why would you live in the border, like there's all these immigrants and there's all these illegals and there's all the thugs and all that. No, that's not. This is more safe than the most places, like being in a big city like Houston or like other cities is more dangerous than being here. But they're not open-minded. So again, I cannot change their perception. I can just be the role model. It's like, I have the best experience here. I love it. And this is, 956 is a great number. That's why I keep the 956, even though I also have an 806, which is Lubbock, Texas. Nice. But it's Texas. The 956 is important. So
speaking of Texas, you've mentioned in the past to me that you've traveled all around Texas to different cities. How has your experience of Texas changed over the years, and have you do you view as Texas as like, we're very proud, we're very like independent, have you gathered those values yourself?
Right. My favorite country is Texas. So it's like, that's my favorite country. No other country. So I don't need another country. Texas is it. I mean, it's great. And I'm, as I said, like now that my sons are in college, because before, obviously, I was also more tied to this area. And I really enjoy exploring other areas of Texas, like Lubbock, West Texas.
Yeah.
I'd never been to Lubbock till last November, and I fell in love with the prairie dogs and with just the culture. And they have the wine culture, the vineyards. And there's a lot. I mean, it's very barren in a lot of ways, but it's very interesting, and the light is more yellowish, so it's a different light. I mean, it's just like very, very different from South Texas.
It feels like a different world.
Yeah, it is a different world. And then there's Dallas, which is also like, it's a metroplex with 9 million people, and they're so diverse. There's so much going on, and I enjoy that too. They're just like exploring new areas in Dallas and Austin. Obviously, Austin has changed so much from when I was there, but it's okay, you know. So it's like, because like for a while I was like, oh, it's so gentrified and all this and that, but that's the modern life. So you can't stop it, and just like embrace it. And when my son went back to college last week, I had the opportunity to just like walk around downtown at night, 6th Street, and the old Austin is still there, but it's like, okay, it's added on to. So it's evolved, like everything, and that's good. It's a good thing so things evolve.
Yeah.
And so I love also Houston. I mean, there's still so many places I haven't been to, like Galveston. I've never been to Galveston or Marfa or Big Bend. I mean, there's still lots of white spots on the Texas map.
El Paso?
I honestly don't know. I mean, I may have passed through, but I've never really been there that I know. So that's another like kind of gray spot that I need to fill.
And there's some towns that have some like German background, in Texas as well.
Yeah, New Braunfels, Fredericksburg, those places. Yeah, they're like the best peaches in Fredericksburg and New Braunfels. They have the Oktoberfest. So yeah, I've been to those places many times, and I embrace them. And one city that I really also discovered last year is Roma.
Yeah.
Roma, Texas.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, by the border.
In
There's
the west.
also German architects that built the old town. And also the view of the Rio Grande. So it's really exciting. So just to explore new places like that, little towns. And I never forget when we went to Earth, Texas. Earth, Texas has a population of 20 people, but it's so quaint and so unique. When you drive through Paint Rock? That's another city. It had like a little, you can't call it a city. It's just like a little mini town. But they have the best coffee shop. They have like an amazing coffee shop in Paint Rock. Yeah. Population 50, I think. So just to go through places like that and just take pictures and the big sky. I mean, that's another thing about Texas. It's the big sky. You only have that here. I mean, that kind of sky is unique to Texas, and the big clouds, and that's always the big space. That's another thing that's always intrigued me, versus being stuck in the little German or in a big German city where everything is everybody is grouchy in an angry mood. It's raining, it's cold. People don't care about other people. There's everybody is stuck in the buses and trains, and it's not very pleasant, and people they have the headphones on. They don't care about what's going on, and
that's true.
So it's that's kind of stressful, and I was like, if I have a choice, I'd rather be here. Of course, if I don't have a choice, I'll make the best of it. But if I have a choice, I'll be here and experience the rainbow and the big clouds and the space.
You also mentioned that you were in real estate. What's your experience, do you think, or what do you think the Valley is going to be in the next 5 to 10 years as far as like new homes being built, commercial spaces? What do you think about all that stuff?
I think it's exploding. I mean, just comparing to the way it used to be, where you had a lot of farmland, you had the citrus groves. I mean, that's a little, also one of the sad things. There were all these orange groves. There was this aroma in usually April, when all the citrus trees were blooming. So it was absolutely unique. We don't have that anymore because all the citrus those areas are turned into like modern, they're housing and also commercial and other things. So all those little cities that were little, McAllen, Mission, Far, San Juan, everything is merged into one. That's also why the 956 is just one huge area. It's almost like a metropolis. Like this whole area is merging together, and the growth is because of real estate, because there's a lot of building activity. There are a lot of contractors. There's a lot of big companies also coming in, and there's people from like international, like from Mexico and other places, just like growing this area and bringing their flavors also into this area, like the restaurants, more internet. And finally, there's also some vegetarian restaurants coming in.
Right.
Like there's a new one in Edinburgh.
Yeah,
Jerusalem, and there's Faris and McAllen. So the vegetarianism or not eating meat is still considered, that's not food. Like in this culture, like if you don't have meat, it's not considered food, which is very odd to me because when you go to Germany, they're like, most people don't really eat much meat, or they only eat like tiny little bit, like it's not part of their daily diet. I mean, maybe sausage, but even that it's very unpopular, let's put it that way. But here, and then they always like, my friends, I was like, well, how can you survive in Texas? They only have meat, right? And it's like, no. I mean, you can always make your own food. And there's great places like Sprouts and farmers markets where you can get fresh vegetables, and it's like a variety of foods. And I always like to try new foods. And you can also, there's a lot of bakers, and there's a lot of great places.
Yeah, the options are growing.
Yeah, absolutely. The options are growing. And there's also an awareness, because also staying healthy, because even here people realize actually if you just eat like the typical diet is not going to make you healthy. All the processed food, all the fake food, that's not going to get you well. So if you want to stay well, if you want to keep your energy, you need to also pay attention to having a better food intake.
Yeah, of course.
So and so that's coming here now. I feel like there's more of an openness,
more awareness.
For that too.
And speaking of the Valley and the Pride, the 956, can you tell me your involvement in the IMS Museum? Because I feel like there's lots of pride behind that museum, because it's like here in the Valley, and people from Brownsville and people come and look at what's there, and tell me what your experience been with IMAS.
Yeah, I've been a member of the IMAS Guild, we are the fundraising committee for the IMAS, and actually the IMAS is fortunate to have a committee that's been around for more than 50 years. So most museums in other states and other places, they don't have that anymore, because they don't have volunteers like that, because the IMAS Guild is a group of women, and it's only women, still exclusive women, that are supporting the museum by putting time.
Why is that?
Because their bylaws, I mean, they follow like a code of bylaws and laws, and it was at some point it was decided, and because the men were like at work and the women were doing something good for the community, and that's why it's still stuck to women.
Just tradition.
I mean, one day I hope it can be opened to be more open.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're not there yet.
Yeah.
So, and I was the president of the IMAS Guild for the last 2 years, and I tried to change, but
are you still?
No, because also the bylaws say you can be only president for 2 years, and then it's the next president. So you can be an officer only for a certain period of time, and then it's next. So it's very, very structured and very specific.
Yeah.
And one day it will probably change, but the IMAS is actually also is very thankful to have these supporters, and they have many other supporters. And just considering the IMAS is the only accredited by the museum organization of the U.S. in this area, in the whole South Texas area, and between San Antonio and Monterey, there's only the IMAS. Like of also what they do, the education for homeschooling, for the schools. I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds of kids going through the museum and inspiring their families too, and getting the families to come. And membership for the IMAS is really cheap, and there's all kinds of kids. So you can't say like, oh, I can't afford it. It's like I think it's $50 a year for a family, or maybe $70. So it's really affordable. And rather than going to the mall and buying a new pair of shoes, I recommend, and that's what I did with my kids. They never liked to go to the mall when they were little. They always wanted to go to the IMAS. They called it the Water Ball Museum because it had a lot of elements for kids and a lot of things to explore.
Why was that taken away?
That the water ball thing is still there. It's in the discovery room. So yeah, they take it when they have events. They take it away. But also the plan is to revive the children's museum and to make that much bigger. And it's so important because the children are the future. And if they have access, if they are educated and are growing up in the museum, then they will also share with their families, and the families learn. And I always try to get people to invite people to come to the IMAS and just like explore and also be the light in that respect, because there's a lot of great exhibits going on, a lot of great artists. I mean, Uriel Landeros is going to open. That's 3 weeks away, I think. His exhibit's going to open. He's a local artist, right? And just like giving local artists the opportunity to even be in the museum, and it's an international museum.
Yeah, it's a big thing.
And that makes the IMAS special, that they have the educational element and that they have the art element, and the curators, like the whole crew, like who's in charge, is just like amazing. And they understand that in order to transform, of course, we need money, and they have great plans, but it has to be funded. And with I think he's the grandson of Norman Rockwell. He's the one that also built Rioscape 30 years ago. He's working with the IMAS. So they have projects, and also in Mexico, there are several museums working together with the IMAS to grow and to make the vision reality. And there's big visions of what's going to happen in the IMAS within the next 10 years. And so that's why the IMAS is like a special magnet for the art and the artists here in the area. And people need to also be aware of that and learn about that.
Can you share about that exhibition about Uriel Landeros? How long will that exhibit be, and would that be? How much are the tickets for that? Like, how does that work?
Okay, well, if you're a member, if you have the annual membership, then it's just like within your membership, it's free. Yeah. And then you can also get invited if there's an opening for a new exhibit. And typically the exhibits are like 3 to 4 months. So that's the normal lifespan of an exhibit. And then of course there's permanent. If some things are in the permanent exhibit, that's also something that's there. But the 3 to 4 months that's the period of time. So you should actually get, once the exhibit starts, get to go. And the good thing about a membership is that you can come many times, and you don't have to, and with art, that's also the way I like it best. And I just look at something and then maybe just be there for half an hour and then come back. Yeah. And so you can come back as many times as you want. And that's why I would always recommend a membership. Yeah. Because especially if you live here in the area, I mean, it's so affordable, and it's a great way of also, you can bring guests, you can introduce them to the IMAS and to. So
you can bring a guest with the annual
like
pass?
if you're a member, you can bring a guest too. So wow. So that's another thing.
Not a bad deal.
Yeah, and in Uriel's case, it was just like it's going to be an amazing exhibit. So we can just like really looking forward to it. I mean, I don't know I haven't seen it yet, but because it's still in the works. But I know it's going to be amazing, and I'm glad that it's actually that we have something like that here with local artists. So, and I hope there's going to be more, and there will be more in the future for sure.
I think you're someone who's very collaborative. You're very. I think I've seen you in so many different communities. That's the true. Art community, the business community. Like, what is it like networking with local people? Like, and why is that important for not only as a person, but like, I think humans were meant to communicate and be social.
Absolutely.
Like, what's been your experience with that networking?
Right. I mean, networking, everything we do is kind of networking because we're connecting with others. And there's different places, like there's church, Center Church. That's my favorite church, like Pastor Clark, Center Church. And they're using a lot of social media also to reach out. We have like all these revivals, and there's a lot of things coming and a lot of room to grow. And that's also like what I said before, you don't have to be by yourself. There's always guidance, there's always help, but the only thing is you have to make the first step and reach out and go there and just expose yourself to the church, to the community. The same with also, I'm still, I'm a member of the chamber, the Hispanic chamber, the McAllen chamber, and also the FAR chamber because, that's this area. And I like to connect with the local business community and also meet new people and connect because we all have the same concerns, or potentially also have partnerships with local businesses. And because we all have similar concerns and we can connect on that. I mean, you can't connect with everybody, no, but that's a cool thing when you go to a new place where you don't know anybody. I love that because you will automatically just naturally meet people that are in some way you can connect with. And that's what we're made for. So we connect with other people, and again, it's like going back to that image of the house. They look in your window, and they may come in, and they may spend some time with you, and that's how you meet these people that are in your house that you're connecting with. And then they may leave again, but then they come back, or you find them again. And sometimes it takes a while, and you meet somebody you haven't seen in a long time, but then you meet them in a different community. That's also very cool. Like the Million Cups community, that's another community for entrepreneurs, and the McAllen Chamber is also supporting that, and the incubator, the Million Cups, every second Wednesday of the month from 9 to 10. Very cool. So you can learn about how to become an entrepreneur and how to support entrepreneurs. And it's also in Lubbock. It's all over Texas, like all over the U.S. actually. The Kaufman Foundation is supporting that. And that's one community. The Rotary is another community that is very, like, you're connected with the rest of the world. There's actually more Rotary clubs than McDonald's in the world. And everyone said, like, McDonald's is, like, the biggest. No, Rotary is actually bigger. To make a difference, to collaborate and to work together and to help others. And that's the bottom line. There's also, like, Toastmaster, like, for public speaking. That's another great resource for connecting and community.
Yes.
Not everybody you don't have to be a public speaker, but if you want to explore just a little bit and in your daily communication, implement that. That's also great.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of different communities. Of course, there's also the health community that's growing. So connecting with that. I mean, it's still very in its infancy, I would say, but there's more of that also happening. So there's a lot of different communities, and sometimes the circles overlap, sometimes they don't.
Yeah. Let's say that if there was a possibility of having a time machine, and maybe you don't have to put something physical, but like maybe like an emotion, like a feeling that's present in your life at the moment. Like what emotion or experience would you put in the time machine?
The main experience is color and light. That's my main experience. So I color. That's also the emotion I feel in different. The color is the most important thing, and it's always been. So it's like the time machine needs color and needs light, and that's the fabric for everything. And so that's what I would definitely put in the time machine, because I would never want light and color and to disappear.
Yeah.
So we need that, no matter what. That's the most important thing. It's like air.
I love that. Wow, what a beautiful answer.
Right.
Wow. I guess one final question I have is, like, if there was a message that you like to give to the people that might be listening the podcast, is there a message, or do you have an upcoming event? Or is there something in your chest that you just want to, say out loud? Anything at all?
Well, there's always a lot of upcoming events, but what I'd like to say is just like connect, and that's the most important thing. Like stay connected, and share and help each other. So, and then as far as upcoming event, like as far as on the business side, if you need any kind of healthcare, contact me. I can help. So that's one of the things, because our health share program is far beyond better than, and I can honestly say that because I've experienced it, but than anything else that is out there. And then also just connecting. That's something we have. There's several events like the Uriel's, the exhibit that starts. It's in I think it's the 26th of September. There are a lot of things happening in October. There's lots of markets also, and just like go check out the markets. There are a lot of local little vendors, entrepreneurs who putting out their baked goods, their arts, and their things. So that's something that the community needs to support. And Fireman's Park every Saturday from 9 to 12, they have the farmers market, my favorite market. Nice, so that's great. There's also in Harlingen, there's a great farmers market on South Padre Island. On Sundays, there's a great farmers market. So those are all places. And again, like that's the diversity of the 956. Padre Island is part of it. So, and it's not that far. In Harlingen, there's a lot of interesting things happening in Harlingen. Weslaco, I mean, here they also have like street fairs, and there's a lot of things, the art walks. In this whole region, there's a lot of things to discover that and things they can do. So.
And if you were to, share the RGV with someone who's never been here, and they ask you, what is that place like? What would be your answer?
It's very homey. It's safe, and it's relaxed. That's another thing. It's not like the lifestyle is kind of chill. And then we have like the palm trees are definitely the sky, the sunsets, the palm trees, Padre Island. You have the beach so close. You even have like Elon Musk right here. So you have technology. You have you see a lot of those cyber wagons nowadays, like more here. I haven't seen one in Lubbock yet, but here I've seen many of them. So it's a very diverse place. There's university with UTRGV, so all the universities. So there's a lot of growth in education happening as well. So that's one of the things. There's a lot of Mexican food, a lot of taco places. In my opinion, too many taco places, but okay. But food is also a very important element of the RGV. So the different styles of South American, Mexican cuisine, and vegetarian places coming now. so that's all like and the events. There's also in October there's like at the convention center there's a lot of things happening. In the convention center there's always something cool happening. The symphony is going to be out there starting again the season. So there's a lot of things that the RGV can be proud of, like especially also the symphony. When I first went there, I couldn't believe it. It's much better. The acoustics are so much better than the Berlin Symphony. Yeah. And so to have that here in South Texas, and people don't even acknowledge that. They don't even go there. It's like,
I've went to the Chinese, it's like a dance.
Oh yeah, there's a Chinese event.
Like a recital thing?
Yeah.
It was beautiful. It was really nice.
Yeah, and the acoustics and the symphony itself, once a month they have these really great performances. So there's a lot of value here, and of course there's the big mall. You have all that. So we have a little bit of everything, but it's not as stressful like in the bigger cities where you have to like be stuck in traffic. I mean, the traffic here, of course, people complain about the traffic, but it's no real traffic. I mean, if you're stuck in Houston or in Dallas like for hours, that's real traffic. Or in Berlin, takes you like an hour to get to a place where it usually would take you like 5 or 10 minutes. Yeah, that's traffic, but we don't really have that here. So, even if like the highway is stuck, you can find ways to bypass.
That's true.
So yeah, there is a lot of things out here, and also the parades, like the 4th of July parade, the Christmas parade. Those are great things.
Is there any advice or any shout outs that you want to do to anybody out there?
Shout outs, well, to the art community, to all my friends, and I'm glad and I'm thankful that I'm part of this, and any way I can help, I will, and support as well. And so yeah, and like if you see me on Facebook, I mean, you probably know me. so it's just like connecting, and if I haven't been able to get to you, we'll get back. I mean, my time is every day is precious, and if we will see each other, we will. So it's gonna happen. That's what I know. So
perfect. So thank you so much, Tina.
Thank you for the time.
For your time and sharing a little bit of your life with us. And
we could talk for many more hours, but this is like the first segment. Maybe there's got to be follow-up, right?
Yes, please come back. I've had, I don't know if you know David Podwin.
Yes.
He's been here like 3 or 4 times already.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I have more material. I mean, I can bring different shoes. I have many more things that I can bring. Right, yeah.
So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Cuadros' Corner is a podcast whose purpose is to bring connection within the local community of the Rio Grande Valley, a digital networking landscape to meet people through their stories of passion, business, desires, triumphs, and obstacles. Check out the podcast description to connect with guests through their links, and thank you for listening to Cuadros' Corner. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and comment.